What's up, guys? It is Ian, your very friendly neighborhood Viking, coming back at you with another Motivational Monday video. And this week, we are going to do your studio checklist. I noticed that lately I've been doing a bunch of videos where maybe I'm coming off kind of pissed off about some things, or I'm, giving people a hard time because of their attitudes or something like that. And I wanted to kind of not do that this week. I'm going to get back to music stuff. So this week, we're going to talk about studio time. Now, a lot of you people in bands, you write your songs, and you think that you're ready for the big studio and get your music out there when you might not be. And this checklist is going to help you get to where you are for sure ready to go. So let's do it. Stop. Before we do that, I need you to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and make sure you turn your notifications on so you're getting all the videos that we're getting out to you guys every single week. So boom, hit the thing right there, hit it. You wrote your songs, you've been promoting, you've been, playing some shows, you haven't quite recorded your songs yet, and you think that you're ready to go to the big studio. Now, studios are a huge deal and they're very expensive. So you want to get your shit together and make sure that you're ready to go so you're not wasting a bunch of money and you're not going in debt and you're not doing a bunch of infighting with the band and you're not pissing off the engineers or any of the studio hands or anybody like that, or pissing off your spouse because you spent $10,000 in the studio now. Well, we don't want to do any of that. So let's get right into that. Number one, are your songs finished? The reason I say that is because we have done that too, actually. We've went into the studio and I've been like, it's mostly done. I'll just, throw the finishing touches on there. That shit doesn't always work, all right? Then you wind up working on something for days or weeks or months, and you're just going deeper and deeper into your financial hole that you're already in. So make sure your songs are 100% finished before you go into the studio. Okay. Number two, pre-production. This goes along with making sure that your songs are finished. Do pre-production, do demoing at home. Put all your guitar tracks in, your layers, your bass, your drum, whether you can program them or if you can record them yourself, do that. Make sure all your vocal harmonies and all your layers and all of that stuff is there. That way, when you get in there, you can get in and you can knock it all out. You can send that to the engineer ahead of time, say, hey, this is exactly what we want to do. Nothing else, we want to do exactly what we have here. That way, he or she has a good idea on what to expect and they can set up things ahead of time. Do pre-production. I will always preach to do pre-production, whether you can record it at home or at your buddy's house or something like that. If you can do it, definitely do it. Number three, pick the studio that is right for you and your band. There's a lot of studios out there and there's a lot of really awesome ones. There's some shit ones out there too. And you're gonna come across those dodgy ones more than the nice ones, more than likely. And even the nice ones got dodgy people that work for them. So make sure you find the correct studio, hunt one down, listen to some of the albums that they've put out, or what producers they work with, if they work with some. Do your research on the studio before you go pick that one. You want one that's obviously going to be close to where you are, but you want to pick one that's going to be the most applicable and beneficial to what you're trying to put out. If you are a death metal band and you are going to a studio where the engineer has literally recorded nothing but indie rock and stuff like that, you might have a tough time. Now, that doesn't mean that engineer can't do that. It just means that maybe he or she is not as familiar with exactly what you're doing. So try to find the best choice for your area and your budget and your needs. Make sure, do your research before you find them. Number four, this isn't a game. What I mean by that is that it's not for your friends, it's not for your spouses, it's not for, hang-arounds or anything like that. You go to the studio to get work done, and you're spending a decent amount of money to get it done. So don't go there with your buddies, don't let your bullshit friends who aren't in the band or aren't helping anything come in and hang around. I promise you, engineers don't like that. People who run studios do not like those hang-arounds because they're just liabilities. So get your shit, get your band, and go in there and get your work done. Don't bring anybody else if you don't have to. Number 5, if you are doing any video recording or anything like that, when you're in the studio, make sure it's on a day that's applicable and not like a day where, hey, we're supposed to be tracking all of our really important stuff today. It's usually not a great day to do stuff like that, or like a very busy day, because if there's people in there shooting video, they might be in the way a little bit. So if you are going to have a videographer in the studio with you, make sure you clear it with the engineer or the studio ahead of time so they know, and make sure that they stay the out of the way. Number 6, when you have your band that you're already all in agreement on everything that's going to happen there. One of the worst things that can happen in a studio is that when you get there and you guys are disagreeing on a big important thing, you haven't talked it out ahead of time, or somebody's making last minute changes and people aren't agreeing on it, that can cause a huge fight with your band, and in the studio isn't the place for it. One, you're wasting time, you're wasting money, you're wasting the studio's time, which they could be making money off of, and you're all around f***ing it up. Number 7, make sure your gear is ready to record. People will go into the studio with this garbage gear. That doesn't mean it has to be outrageously expensive, but at least it has to be set up and tuned, and your pedals need to be ready to go, and the heads on your drums need to be changed, and new guitar strings, all that stuff. Make sure you have all of that stuff done beforehand, because it will cost you money. When you're in there and you're wasting time, it costs you money. You already have to pay for setup time and everything like that. Don't do anything that's gonna make you waste more time, waste more money, and waste the studio's time. They have better shit to do. Make sure all of your instruments are ready to go before you get in there. Number 8, I'm really beside myself for the fact that I even have to mention this, but do not go to the studio trashed. You can call me lame, I don't care, but this ain't the 70s or the 80s or anything like that. You don't do that. Especially if it's a studio you've never been there, you look like an asshole, and they are definitely not gonna wanna mess with you. So don't do that. Just make sure when you go there, you're ready to work, you're sober, all of that stuff. If you're there and they don't care if maybe you have a couple of beers or something like that while you're there, that's fine. But if I ran the studio and you showed up trashed, I'll tell you to leave. And I'm still gonna dock you at least partial days fee, because that's bullshit. You need to be ready to work, you need to be ready to get your stuff done. Not only is it unprofessional, but it's incredibly frustrating. So please, just go sober. I know it sucks for some of you, but just go. Number 9. Number 9 is a little different. When you go in and you're doing your thing, the last thing you want to be to a studio or the engineers or anybody who works there is insulting. So don't ever say stuff like, yeah, this is great and all, but I think my buddy with Cubase could probably do it better. Maybe I'll have him do it instead. That shit will piss them off in a heartbeat, and you look like a major dickhead. And you should, because it's exactly what you are. Do not go to a studio and insult them in any way. If you don't like what's happening, you can tell them that, and you can withdraw from the project. You don't have to associate with that studio anymore. You don't have to do anything with them, period. It's still gonna cost you whatever you have wrapped up into it, but you can just leave. You can agree to disagree, and that'll be the end of it. But don't ever go there and insult them by saying that somebody's buddy in his bedroom can do it better than this $1 or $2 million studio or something like that, and you're in. They will cut you off. They'll tell you to get the fuck out, and rightly so. You earned that. So yeah, always make sure you're respectful to the people that work there and the equipment that they have, because it isn't yours and it costs more than your life, more than likely. So just be respectful, don't insult nobody. All right, number 10, the last thing and the most important thing. Try to make sure that you have the amount of money that it's gonna cost you set aside ahead of time. Now, things happen, projects run a little longer than expected, that stuff happens. But don't go there knowing that it's X amount of dollars a day and go, whoa, I brought $7. Don't do that, because your ass is gonna get blackballed in a heartbeat. Make sure you pay them. Don't argue either. That makes you look like an asshole too. If you ask for a discount, if you ask for stuff like that, just show up on time, Don't waste their time, be respectful, and pay them when they ask. And you know what? They might hook you up. They might give you a deal if you do that, if you're just legit, because the best way to get a deal is to not ask for one. So make sure you got your money right before you go jumping into something that's gonna cost you $2, $3, $4, $6, $8, $10,000 or something like that. Make sure all of that is taken care of, or at least most of it is taken care of ahead of time. That way they get paid right away. There's not a bunch of back and forth bullshit between people. There's no he said, she said, they said, whatever. It's here's what you owe me, please pay me. And the minute you delay on that, that puts a bad taste in their mouth. So make sure they get paid. They did the work, pay them. Now, like I said, this stuff is all my opinion, and these are all the things that I think you should have ready to go before you hit the big studios. Now, if you don't think you're ready, then don't go. Stay home and do your pre-production, get all of your ducks in a row. That way you can go in there and knock it out. Being in a big studio, being in a really nice studio is really, really awesome. It's exciting and everybody wants to go do that. But if you're not ready, do yourself a favor, do them a favor, and get all your shit together before you make that leap. It's a big commitment and you should be ready for it, because you don't want your product to suffer because you're not ready. We've been there, we've done that, and we shouldn't have. Part of that has been my fault, and I think about it all the time when I'm recording. And I always make sure that my shit is all the way together before I make that big leap. That's it. That's the checklist for this week. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Let me know if there's anything that you think that I missed, or what you guys do before you hit the studio, if any of you guys are recording musicians. So I would love to hear that. I would also love to hear what kind of gear that you particularly like to use in the studio, because I'm working on building our own studio here. So I'm super interested in gear, and I'm trying to nerd out and learn everything I can. So if you have any cool tips, if you have any cool stories, if you have any comments or questions at all, please leave them down below. We will be happy to get back to you as soon as possible. Make sure you subscribe, turn your notifications on, and guys, I will see you next week. I hope you have an awesome Monday. I hope you have a fantastic rest of the week. Later.